Things just to mention about COVID time, because I think sometimes we lose track of time in this COVID world. Tomorrow we'll make 16 and a half incubation cycles. So since the first case was discovered in Pitt County or identified in Pitt County, that's 33 weeks or 231 days of COVID time. Our numbers in Pitt County are stable to perhaps trending down. We are at 2.8 cases per 1,000 residents right now. In the past, we have been around 3 or a little over 3 cases per 1,000. During the height of the ECU bubble, we were at about 7 cases per 1,000. So those numbers have come down. Over the last 14 days, we've had 513 new cases. Our total cases are 6,372. This morning, our percent positivity is listed at 5.8%. Again, that's down from prior numbers. In the spring, we were hovering around 7%. During the ECU bubble, we were in the teens. And we are now down at hovering around 6%. Some days a couple points below, some days a couple of points above. We estimated as of yesterday, we haven't done that calculation yet today, that of those 6,372 cases, 5,818 have recovered, and that number's on our website. As a percentage, that's about 91% of our cases we estimate to be recovered at this time. Unfortunately, we have accumulated 41 deaths, and again, I express my condolences to the family and friends of those individuals. Happy to take your questions this morning. Elizabeth?
Okay. So we seem to be doing kind of better with cases here than the state is. Can you kind of talk about why that is?
Well, I'd like to think it's because people are being mindful of wearing their masks, staying 6 feet apart, and washing their hands. Hopefully the other thing that we've been stressing more and more lately is the idea of staying home when you're sick. If you're sick, even if it's not COVID, it's not good to go out and give that to other people or spread that to other people. So we certainly encourage people to stay home when they're sick, and I think that has helped. As this infection moves through us, if we think of this as a fire. Again, if we do those things and we stay apart and make it harder for that fire to spread from fuel to fuel, and we are the fuel for that fire figuratively, we make the fire smaller.
And I know we ask you this after every single holiday. Are you beginning to see any cases related to Halloween?
Not that we could pinpoint. Halloween was only Saturday, so what is that? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, about 4 days ago, 5 days ago. As I said, our numbers are stable to perhaps trending down a little bit. So we would obviously watch that for the next 10 to 14 days and see if there's any bump. I confess I was out with my granddaughter in her little neighborhood, and people that I saw out were trick-or-treating very responsibly this weekend, at least in that neighborhood. And I've heard stories from other neighborhoods that people were very mindful of the guidance in terms of distancing and passing out candy and things like that. So I was pleased with what I saw, at least in my daughter's neighborhood, my granddaughter's neighborhood.
Okay. And have any cases been linked to any polling sites?
And now that we're aware of, early voting lasted through much of October. We have not identified any cases linked to those. Personally, I early voted, and the day I voted, the turnout was very light. I felt like the provisions were adequate. Everything seemed well spaced. The shielding was in place between you and the election workers as the voter. So I was pleased with what I saw at the polling place that I used here in Pitt County.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Leading into elections, people hosting watch parties and gatherings for those parties and stuff. Do you guys expect to see maybe some of those numbers go up because of elections?
Yeah, again, as with any social gathering, we would encourage people to socialize responsibly. When we have seen these little community clusters, they often are tied to some private function, a birthday party, a barbecue, baby shower, something like that. So if people did have watch parties for election results last night, I hope that they did so responsibly. Obviously, we'll watch the numbers over the next 2 weeks and see where we go. I would think that those are relatively small gatherings and we would not see a huge bump because of that. But anything's possible.
And just lastly, in the last several weeks, we've been talking about this second spike coming, the second spike of COVID cases that people are anticipating. Is there any extra necessary steps, or is there more tests being available for people, or how are you guys preparing for that, or are you even worried about that second spike?
Yeah, well, first of all, I would argue we're not necessarily through the first wave. I think what we're seeing in terms of these ups and downs are the undulations of a flattened curve. I know some people say there's been a first wave and a second wave, and depending on how you look at the data, you might say that, but I really think what we're looking at is the undulations of a so-called flattened curve, and that nothing is perfectly smooth when you look at the real data. As far as going forward and protecting ourselves, again, that social distancing, masking, hygiene, avoiding social, large gatherings, socializing responsibly. I think was flu in there. Did you have a flu question in there?
I did not.
No? Okay. I was going to say the other thing so far, we have not seen any influenza in the viral surveillance that's done, at least in the Vidant system, which is good. So I see their internal report once a week. And so far, there's been no flu in the Vidant system, so that's good. We know the Southern Hemisphere supposedly has had a mild flu season. And the things that we are doing to impede the spread of COVID would also impede the spread of influenza and other respiratory viruses. So,
as of right now, with voting yesterday at the polls, are you guys expecting an increase in COVID cases since you had people at the polls yesterday, or did you see good precautions, people using face masks, social distancing, those type of things?
yeah, face masks were not required in polling places, I guess. That was a county determination, but because they were afraid some people might not vote if they were told they had to wear a mask, is my understanding of that. The early voting, as I said, seemed to be well spaced and appropriate precautions in place, Brandon. I drove by a couple of polling places yesterday that did not appear to be huge lines or people cramped together. I did not go into any polling places yesterday. But we'll follow that. I would, again, not anticipate a huge spike after Election Day. Again, I think people were mindful of their spacing and many people were wearing masks at those places. Other questions? All right. Thank you, guys. Reminder, next week is Veterans Day, so it's a county holiday. We will not have a media session next week. We'll be back the following week. We've given some consideration to doing 1 week in a morning session, 1 week in afternoon session. Would that be helpful to you all if we did that?
Mornings are probably easier.
Yeah.
Mornings are typically better because then you can turn the story for the evening show.
Okay. All right. So we'll stay on that morning schedule. I know every once in a while Amy gets a call from the nightside reporter from one of the stations that comes in late in the day. So I just wanted to ask that of you all, but again, so no media session next week because of the holiday, and we'll be back on the 18th. Okay.
Oh wait, never mind. Thanksgiving is on Thursday.
Thanksgiving is a Thursday, yes.
That was a
So-
stupid question.